Well, hey guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to my stream and another chapter. Chapter 4. I think it's chapter 4. I think it is chapter 4 for that guy there. 1969 Corvette 427 by Revell. Let's run the intro and let's get started. Okay guys, we're back and we're going to continue on the build, and I have no idea what I'm doing next. Right? I have no idea what I'm doing next. I've been kind of painting and doing painting and stuff like that. I got some aluminum done on our rims and our side trim. Our steering wheels painted, starters painted. I just painted my carburetor aluminum. Just all kinds of little things. I painted my little toolbox red. Not related at all, but that's what I did. I have the back side of our rims, our aluminum, our radiators now aluminum. All these little bits and pieces and stuff like that that I've been kind of just doing a little bit of painting. I was really not happy with the oil filter that came in the kit. I told you guys that last time. Really not happy with it at all because it just doesn't look like an oil filter. Let me change the camera here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So you might look at this and go, yeah, it's reasonable enough, but this thing had some kind of like a peg in the center of it that I still haven't. Like, I filed it down, but I haven't did it file all the way. So you can see what the heck that is, and it's actually, this thing is tapered, and they called that the oil filter. I've never heard of an oil filter that's tapered, and well, yes, I did paint it orange in anticipation of installing it, but then I was like, you know what, that's not a freaking oil filter. This is not an oil filter at all. So I took one of my I have a few files of like resin engines and stuff like that that I've downloaded and purchased and whatever, and well, they come with oil filter files, and so I just took one of those and I 3D printed myself about a dozen different oil filters, and these ones actually look like oil filters. Now I just put a clear coat on these, so they're still a little tacky. Yeah, so these are going to have to dry for a little bit before I can actually use these. I painted them white and clear coat over them, so I've got nice shiny white oil filters just like you would see in real life. And if I happen to decide that at some point I'm putting on a Fram brand oil filter, which those are of course are all orange, or most of them are anyway. I think some of them now they do black, but anyway. I can very easily paint the orange over the white, and that's going to be great. So I can do about 18 different engines. I don't even know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I could do 21 engines here. So yeah, I've got more than enough for a lot of builds in 1/24th, 1/25th scale. I got lots of oil filters. Yay! Okay, we're going to just put these aside because they got to dry. They're a little tacky still. Yeah, so I also have ignition coil on the end of this toothpick. It's really hard for you to see, but I've got it shoved into the end there. Little ignition coil. If my camera will focus on it. Yeah, it's just a little coil. I noticed this car does not have a coil, so again, 3D printed. I have some 3D printed ignition coils and starter relays. And as you can see, I've used a few of them, or a few of them kind of broke off or whatever. I've got two types of coils on there. Some of them have the actual mounting brackets. You can see on that one that I'm pointing at there, we've got a little mounting bracket on that guy, right? And then I've got some that are just straight up, no bracket on them, so I can have those mounted whatever. On a few of them the brackets didn't print fully, like this one here. You see the bracket on one side but not on the other. Yeah, but my little starter relays, they all printed really great, you know, because, you know, I admit it, I'm a Ford guy. I've always loved Mustangs. I used to, you know, when I was a teenager, buddies used to say, "Oh, you love Fords, you love Fords," and I was like, wait a minute, I love Mustangs. I don't love Fords. They just happen to be made by Ford. If Chevy made the Mustang, then I guess I'd like Chevys, right? But I like Mustangs. And Mustangs always had, especially in the 60s, 70s, 80s, always had the starter relay on the fender. So I print those out because I'm planning on building more Mustangs. I do have some Mustangs in my stash. I think in the last 3 years though, I think I've built more GM products than I have Mustangs, which is kind of ironic. But nevertheless. Okay, so I gotta get my ignition coil done. Let's get that done while my oil filters are drying. So I need to paint the actual bracket that goes around that. So let's get that done, and we can move on and get other things done. Alrighty. Let's change the camera here. Okay, we're going to choose my super bright LP48 sparkling silver. This is the most silvery silver that I have. It's the one silver I've come across that is the closest thing to chrome without actually being chrome. And because it's Tamiya, it's going to be durable. So I just want to go around this edge here. Just go around this here. It's not really going to be seen too much. So it doesn't really matter if I go over the edge a little bit on it. The important part is that it's done. There are a couple little bolts details on this guy here. You can kind of touch them with the brush. I don't think they're going to be seen. What I've noticed on these 427s, I realized I did put my distributor on wrong. I'll show you in a minute here. So let me clean my brush and I'll show the engine. My distributor is on with the vacuum advance is facing the wrong direction. Let's grab our engine here. The vacuum advance I put facing basically the driver's side, and what I've seen in pictures of this car, they kind of sit on the passenger side, towards the passenger. So yeah, I did mine wrong, but only I know, and so it doesn't matter. Her ignition coil, from what I've seen in pictures, the ignition coil literally sits right here on the intake manifold. Let's just move my coil wire out of the way. The ignition coil literally sits like right here. Almost like just straight up like this, I've seen sitting. So let's bend my wires out of the way of the intake here a little bit. But I think I'm going to just mount it like this. And just have it sit there like that. I think that's going to be the best bet. So, let's get some CA glue. I'm not going to be pretty with my CA glue. I want it to work. once the coil's down, I want it to stay there forever. And of course, it is resin, so that's why I'm doing the CA glue. Okay, going right there on the intake. Take off the toothpick, grab it with tweezers, and just lay them down right there. And that's our coil's new home. Just as a test, here's our carburetor. I want to make sure it doesn't interfere. Let's put this in the direction it's going to go. No, carb's going to be fine. So that's good. So make sure my carb doesn't come off of my tweezers. I'm going to make sure it doesn't go flying somewhere. Okay, so with that done, our coil is there. Now we just got to run the wire to it. So with our wire coming down, we're going to snip it off. Give ourselves a little extra here. There we go. I still might take some more off of that. This has to bend. And then I'm going to go into our coil. Oops. Obviously the CA glue is not cured yet, but while we're doing that, I might as well put some CA glue onto the coil on the tip where the wire is going to go in. Okay, holding it with my finger a little bit. Shove that wire in there. And we're going to spray it with some accelerant so we can get this done. There we go. Our wires are all done now, except of course for our little vacuum thing, which really is going to go to like kind of underneath the carb kind of thing. We're going to hide the wire underneath there, because it technically is supposed to go to like maybe well, like one of the hoses on the valve cover or something like that. If I happen to have enough glue on this, I might be able to convince the wire to stay down on the intake. No, I guess not. At least not right now. We will in a minute though. There we go. Is that where, there we go? I don't think that's there we go. Keeps on lifting up. Stop it. Stay down. Stupid CA glue. Hold. Isn't CA glue supposed to be freaking instant? Okay, there we go. I've got a reasonable facsimile for a vacuum line. Let's clean out my glue. Okay, so that's that. Our wires are done. I will say I am a little sad that I discovered my alternator bracket is totally wrong and doesn't match the way it actually should be on the engine. But at the same time, I also remember it doesn't matter. Where the heck did this come from? This is not the thing for that brush. Maybe it is. Anyway, so that's that. We finally have our ignition coil and that's finally installed on there. So we got an ignition coil. Yay. I'm gonna take that off of there. We don't need that now. We're not painting. I think we can install our starter finally over on this side onto this little kind of a slot here. Starter can go on. Get that lined up on there. Just like so. It's going to go like that. I need to touch up a little bit of paint on there though. I just saw that. I just realized I've got a couple little spots that I missed somehow. Somehow I missed them. Now I've kind of painted this thing with a little bit of the a little bit of light gunmetal and a little bit of aluminum. And kind of just did a mixture on this thing. Just to, you know, add a little bit of differentiation, if that's even a word. Just so that it you know, when you look at the engine block, the starter kind of pops out a little bit and it doesn't just look like another aluminum piece on there. I wanted it to actually be a little bit noticeable that there's a starter there, you know what I mean? A particular field of work I do, I kind of deal with starters sometimes, and so I've seen a lot of starters in my day, and so I kind of have an idea of the color of the starters and what they look like. And yeah, but on a real engine, you put a brand new starter on, it really does pop. You notice it. Okay, so we got glue on our starter. Our engine can start now. Okay. So there's that. What else do we have to do on this engine? One thing I find a little bit ironic is they show this engine with our 3 2-barrel carburetors with our intake manifold like this set up. You could put dual 4s, I suppose, if you wanted to do something custom. You got your air cleaner with the 3 2s, and yet the kit comes with the option for a single carburetor right there on my clip and the air cleaner for it, which I was actually struggling. I was trying to find what the heck this round thing is. This is actually the air filter for the single carb option. Yeah, but they don't show it in the instructions at all, and I think that's because they want you to build this with this particular option that they've done this. Although that's a 427 and all 69 Corvettes came with 427s, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure which particular option package came with the 3 2-barrel carbs. Let's see what else here. Okay, oil filters. See, you get stupid looking oil filter on here that just is not correct. How are my filters doing back here? Are you guys dry? You guys are dry now. They're no longer tacky, they're all dry. So we can put on an oil filter. And I've got these in such a way that I could just go twist, and now it comes. Just like that. Now, resin printing being the way it is, I just need to make sure that the bottom is flat so that I can glue it on. So a little file will take care of that. Just make sure it's flat. Just like that. Okay. Now, flip this over. Our oil filter is going to go right there. So again, I need some CA glue because it's resin. Just need a little drop of glue there. And oil filters in place. Got a little too much glue. Doesn't quite look right. So let's grab a Q-tip. Soak some of that up. There we go. There we go. Our engine can filter oil now. And once again, I gotta get the glue out of the nozzle of my bottle. Okay, so we have an oil filter on the engine now. It's upside down, but whatever. It's upside down in the picture. It's not upside down on the block. Okay. Fan belt, or a fan. We need a fan. Got the fan sitting here. This, of course, is not resin, so I don't need CA glue. I did notice online, looking at pictures of this car, I did see a lot of times the fan was actually, the fan blade was black steel. I don't think it really makes that much of a difference. I do want to put a little panel liner on it. Let's put a little black panel liner on here and make some of this detail pop a little bit here. We got little, we got the little bolts that hold the actual blades on. I just want to do a little bit, just a little tiny bit. It's funny how it's not, it's weighted funny. So it's going to go right there in front of our water pump like every fan does, except electric ones, obviously. Electric fans don't do this. Well, even sometimes they do. They're mounted right in the same spot a lot of times. Sometimes they're mounted right on the radiator. Okay, so let's put some glue in our hole and put our fan on there. straight up and down, straight side to side. That's an important thing. There we go. Okay, we can now cool the engine with air. There we go. Okay, I think our engine assembly is done now, except for the carb, of course. The carburetor, I want to do our float bowls in gold. I think that's important. So we're going to let the glue dry on our things here. Well, we'll grab some gold. Mix that up. It's probably not even going to be visible underneath the intake or under the air cleaner. I don't think these will be visible at all. But in case they are, I'm painting them. There we go. Okay. This is the kind of stuff. This is really what you're wondering, what takes so long in building a model? What is the stuff that really is your time consuming things for model building? It really is painting all the details, all the little parts, painting them all separately is really what takes so much time. So there's our little carburetor. I want to give the gold a minute or three to dry. Let's have a look here while we're waiting for that. That's going to be it for this. Step 1 is finally done, guys. We can move on to step 2. Oh, step 2, of course, is our starter and our fuel pump, which are already on there. So that leaves step 3. Step 3 is the rear end, which I've already done. We've already done the rear end, remember? Remember that? We've already done it. Step 4 is our front coil springs and front suspension. So let's find our coil springs. I know they made the decision in this kit to make our coil springs in 4 pieces right here. So that's fun. Why they molded them in separate pieces like this, I do not know. They could have very easily molded them as one round piece, just like they did with this canister. Right? I don't understand sometimes their logic in it. So each half has to go together. And maybe go on the floor. Gotcha. Okay, so these two happen to be the female sides. And I feel like I've got some flash on there. It needs to be cleaned up. I have a feeling my pegs are not going to line up with the holes. That's just my feeling. They're not bad actually. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to glue that on there like that. And call now this side done. Okay, so there's one. We'll get this guy lined up. It actually lines up not bad. All things considered with this kit, being as old as it is, it's not bad. This is what, 1990 I think this kit was built in? I don't know. I forget now. I forget when Revell made this kit. I'm sure it says on here somewhere, probably in a front description of it. Copyright 1989, yeah. It's kind of funny that they took so long to make a 69 Corvette model. 1989. Meanwhile, also in 1989, the Batman movie comes out with Michael Keaton, and, well, they've got a Batwing out the next year. Like, what are your priorities, guys? Okay, I want to do a little bit of black panel lining on our carburetor to make the detail pop and give it a little bit of realism. And it's also going to dullien up our gold and make it look a little more coppery, just like it should. There we go. Okay, carb is done. We can let the carb dry. Now that our springs are together and we've got full coil springs, I want to paint my coils. I mean, honestly, I really would like to just get in here and make sure everything is nice. Especially our coils. I want the coils to look kind of like they're round. So I'll just file them a little bit. Take any lip off. That's pretty good for that one. I don't want to file it too much. I don't think it's necessary. They kind of get hidden in there, and you're probably not going to see much of them anyway. It's only going to be like when you're really scrutinizing the model that you're going to see the coil springs in behind the wheels. And, you know, once it's on my shelf, probably never going to look again. And I want to paint them silver. I want to paint my springs silver. Just the springs. And slowly go all the way around. A little trick you can do if for some reason somehow you happen to put too much paint on when you're doing this and you get in between the coils with your silver, that's not the end of the world. You can always just take some black panel liner and put it down in between the coils and kind of hide your mistake. That's kind of the beauty of this little task here. Alright, that guy's done. So you can see what I was doing there? Painted all those coils silver. Alright, so I'm going to do the same on this guy. Okay. Alright, so those are done. Now, like I mentioned with the panel liner, I need to go in between our coils. I did a little bit too much on that one. So, so I kind of smudged a little bit on that one, so I need to put some panel liner in there and kind of clean up my mess. So, clean my brush, get the silver off of that. Get up the panel liner. And we'll just go in where I kind of smudged in between our coils. Doink, doink. Okay, there we go. Alright, so with that done, we need to grab our front suspension piece. Where is my front suspension arm? Not on those, not on that, not on that. Is it over on the other table? Maybe? No. Where is my suspension? There it is. It's in the box. Okay. Our front A-arms and steering is basically what it is. Or sorry, our lower A-arms. There we go. It looks like, no, we're not going to need our upper A-arms yet. So our coils are going to go into these big sockets. And I just want to make sure I don't have any nubs. I think I cleaned all my nubs off of our suspension here. Alright. So we have this. This is going to go on with our steering linkage going towards the back of the car, and it's going to go on like this, like somehow. Our coil springs, it looks like we've got our base in here needs to be flattened out. Let's get that relatively flattened out. And same with this. Gee, can you tell that wasn't flat? Okay, so these are going to go in with these flattened parts. They're going to go down in there like this. I want to make sure even the top is flat too. That's technically the bottom. I'm technically putting in the top to the chassis. Okay. So glue. In there. And coil spring drop. Okay. Glue. There. Coil spring. Drop. There we go. Now they are angled out just a little bit. And then our suspension is going to go in, and the tops are going to go in here. I say tops, I keep saying top, but it's the bottom. We're just going to check our alignment here. Now this would be a great time, or would have been a great time, if you wanted to lower the car, to chop your springs. But it really wouldn't do you any good because the center here mounts up flush with our cross member. Now I've got a couple of loads of paint on this, so I actually want to just kind of give this a little bit of a scrape to help the glue do its job. Okay, just a little bit in the center there to help it out. And also on here too. I also got a couple of nubs I need to kind of just take care of on our suspension hinge points. So I'm just going to take my file and kind of go in here a little bit. And just kind of, we're going to help use the scrape away a little paint to help the glue out. Even though I really don't need it, don't really need it. Speaking of that, we're going to put some glue in the center there. I'm going to use my thicker glue. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go dab and dab. Okay. Go flip. And line them up. Just like so. And I'm going to grab one of these and just hold it. Just like that. Now, just in case I don't have anything touching, before I'm done all this, I kind of want to spray that almost with the primer. Like once I had the rear end installed, I sprayed more of the Mr. Servicer 1500 black on there to just to unify everything and the paint and the look, and get rid of any shiny spots from glue or anything like that, right? So there's that. I want to put my carburetor on now. I just need to determine which side, where on the very top here is the peg is a D shape. Okay, it's a D shape on top there. See that D? Can you see my D right there? Oh, I guess it's backwards. How about there? Now you see the D? You can see my D now? Look at my D. Look how nice that D is. Anyway, where'd my air cleaner go? Underneath the air cleaner, if I flip this over, it's not even a D. It's a circle. Oh, that's great. So it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to try and figure out which side might be. It's really hard to tell. The molding is exactly the same. Let's put the D with the rounded edge forward. Okay, let's just do that. How about that? Rounded edge going forward. Because on our intake, it's also a circle. Of course, the peg on the carb is a circle too. It's going to go like this. And but our carb was actually dipped in chrome. So I need to get rid of the chrome on the peg. Otherwise, this carb will never stay So I need to scrape away the chrome on our peg here. Fortunately, they didn't really do a huge amount of chrome. So, where'd my glue go? There it is. And I'm going to pick this side as the front, so put a little glue on our peg and just touch down on here. Here we go. And we can glue our carb in. Carbon. There we go. Make sure he's straight. And we got a carburetor on our engine. Just like that. Now, like I mentioned before, I'm maybe tempted to put some kind of throttle linkage or something like that on there. But like I mentioned before, we have our big round air cleaner that's going to go over top of that. It's going to sit something like this. And that's going to cover up just about any kind of linkage I try and show. So I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to bother with any kind of linkage or anything like that. So that is that. It's it's bad enough that my what you call it's and the who's or what's it's are already way too big. What am I talking about? I'm talking about my alternator bracket is way too out of scale. It's very out of scale, but that's the way it goes. So there's our engine. I'm going to take a picture of this guy and put it up on my Instagram so you guys can see a little bit and see what it looks like a little bit up close with a better picture, so you get a better picture of what it looks like online. I don't know why I got on my finger there. I don't know what that stain is. I tried to wash it earlier and it didn't come off. I was like, what the heck is that? Okay. Our front suspension now needs an anti-sway bar or tie rod. Number 75A. Let's find that piece. Let's find our tie rod. Tie rod. Looks like this guy here. This guy right here, number 75. There we go. And we're going to clean him up a little bit, I think. Got a little edge here where it was connected. And back here. Alright. So, we can take our clamp off. I think our glue has done its job. Looks like it. Yep. Okay, tie rod needs to go in, and he's going to go kind of like this. Let me look at that. It goes up underneath there. While going up to the suspension. This, of course, is all upside down, so it almost is like, okay, so our two anchor points on the frame got to go into these two little holes. While it kind of gets sandwiched underneath the AR, but our little guy over on this side doesn't really want to go in his home. Oh, he did. No, he didn't. He thinks he's too good for his home. This guy is fine. Oh, I got him. He's in. Good. Glue it now. Ironically, you know, after having trouble getting it lined up, this side is the last side that lines up. This side isn't touching. I get it in the hole and it's too short. And as much as I would like to angle it up, I would really like to angle it up so it touches it. Okay, so we've got our tie rod in there, just barely touching where it needs to. Yeah, just barely, but it's there. We'll let that dry, and that is step 5. So step 6, we're moving on to radiator things. So I wonder, is that supposed to be, so they want these two pieces A, painted A. A is probably black, it usually is on all these old kits. A, of course, gloss black, yes. So we want our shroud, which I already have painted black, that's done, but our radiator wall needs to be black as well, and I painted that aluminum yesterday, but we can fix that. While we're waiting for that to dry, we can take this and this. I'm going to take my radiator wall off of the sprue here. And you might as well take the rad off of here too. The rad can come off. And you know what? Let's take the shroud off too. So all these need to be kind of touched up now that they're off the sprues. Where's my knife? I'm just going to spray paint this thing with a coat of black. Just make sure the flashing is off there. Okay, I'm going to just drop it on the floor so you get to see the top of my head for a sec. And I'm going to fix this ejector pin marks. See, I can just scrape away. Anyway, this thing needs to be black, so let's paint that. Those guys. Let's give this guy a little coat of paint there. I want to grab this. Okay, that's one side. We'll give that a minute to dry. Meanwhile, our radiator, the side that's going to be facing the engine, gets the shroud on it. So, which is the top? So the side that actually, well, the side that has the radiator cap. Let's get rid of our... It's got a nasty looking separator line here. We need to address. Which I should have done before painting the aluminum. But sometimes you need to do the paint in order to see the separator line, because it's hard to see it when it's just in the bare plastic or whatever. So obviously I'm going to have to go around this and touch up that aluminum on there. Our shroud is going to go over the top like this. So if I leave that, yeah, I can't really leave that, can I? So let's get my aluminum first. Let's move our frame, our chassis out of the way here temporarily. Get some aluminum. This stuff tends to settle down quite a bit, and then I go to paint and I got no pigment, and I'm basically just painting the thing with alcohol, really. To me, a paint's of course alcohol based. So let's just paint in here, cover up that little line. I'm actually curious, you know, back in '69, were they doing aluminum radiators, or were they copper cores? You know, because even into the 80s, radiators were usually brass and copper, which of course a little bit heavier but a lot cheaper, and definitely more common than aluminum. Aluminum was kind of reserved for racing or expensive cars. Mind you, if we're actually building the ZL1, if it's a ZL1 option that this particular kit is based off of, then yeah, it is the expensive version for sure. I need to match my color on our shroud, so I need to use the 1500 black, which is what I painted that thing with. It's almost like, hey, let's just do a little bit here. There we go. Touch up that little red spot. And that little red spot too. Let's go doink. Okay. And I didn't even have to do anything with it. All right. This is the kind of thing that, you know, you spend an hour or so working on things and you don't get much done. And that's kind of the way it goes. And sometimes that's just the way it is. Okay. Our shroud goes on here, just like so. there's our shroud in place on our rad. And of course, radiator caps. What color are radiator caps usually? Usually copper, right? Here we go. And again, panel liner. Panel liner is going to add detail and depth to it, and also make it seem like, you know, it's, well, a little more real. There's not much else to really see on this radiator. I think that's about it. So there's our radiator. Okay, with our little rad cap on the top there. And a little bit of dirt. And yeah, looks a little bit more realistic. Now my rad cover needs more paint. Unfortunately, it's the way it is. That's just the way it is. So I can't put the rad in just yet. I can't do this part. I'll get the two halves together, but this is still being painted. I can't put the rad in yet. What is step 7? Step 7 is exhaust pipes and our frame cross member. Let's put those on and then I'm going to get going. Okay? Let's do our exhaust pipes and our frame cross member, and then I got to get going. So let's find our frame cross member wherever that is. Wherever that might be. That's the first thing to do, is find that piece. That would be right here. So get these out of the way. Okay, I'm actually going to trim my sprue down a little bit here. Get that out of the way. Okay. So, let's clean this up. Exhaust pipes are already done and ready for installation, so we don't have, that's not going to be an issue here. The issue will be how this all fits in. With flashing on our alignment pegs. It looks like one peg is bigger than the other on this, so we'll see. Let's grab our frame. he's going to go right here. And they made it easy for me. One big peg on that side, which tells me this goes just like this, just like that. That's going to go on there, just like that. So it's actually going to sandwich our exhaust pipes in there. So let's grab a pipe. Here we go. Here's one. One pipe. And I guess he's going to go on this side. And we've got this peg going to go back here. So that should line it up easy. Not quite though. Do I have to fish the exhaust pipe through here? Because he ain't going to go below the suspension. Or does it? There really is no way that's happening. So, let's try this. Fish it through here. Doesn't really want to. Are they seriously? Okay, you gotta be kidding me here. Did they show the underside of this car again? No, they do. Well, they sort of do. They got the pipes going over top of it. So the pipes do go over top of the suspension, not underneath. So let's fish that out. So it actually does go over top. But I mean, holy crap, it doesn't really... My pipe, no wonder they want to sandwich it down. It's look at the bend I got to do on this. Like, that's got to really bend down. It just doesn't make sense. Have I got it on the wrong side? No. That's the right side. It's just such a harsh bend. It's almost like, okay, I need to glue this thing down in the hole here first. Like this. And just let that sit and let the glue dry, and then put that down and clamp it. That's what I'm going to have to do, guys. I'm just going to have to line this up like that and glue it. That's just the way she's got to be done. Let's look at our other pipe here. Is this one the same catastrophe? This one is not quite as bad, but it's still pretty awful. Yeah. Okay, so that's what we're doing. We're doing our exhausts in steps. Okay. Glue in there. Put our peg in and line it up. That's where it's going to be. And that's where we're going to let that sit. Let's get the instructions out of the way. Okay, because that's where it's got to go. This has to stay in there while this lines up so I can do that. Alright. Like I said, this side's not as bad, but it's still the same shit. Here we go. Okay. And that's where they're going to sit. And we're just going to let the glue cure there. And let the exhaust dry like that. And that is where I'm going to leave it, because that is really sad. It's really unfortunate that they've done it like that. The exhaust. I mean, yeah, I could have heated up the pipe and bent it. I don't want to heat it up. Just the way it is. I don't want to heat it up and do that. I don't want to. That'll be my last resort. Is melting it and getting it to do its thing that way. That'll be my last resort. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to leave it for today. Sorry I didn't really get a whole lot done with this particular session, but our engine's complete and we're getting there. Slowly but surely we're getting there. Yes. So I do invite you to hit the like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Please, please, please. And down in the description box below, you'll see some links to my other things, like my Twitch and my X channel, and my Instagram. You can check those out if you feel like it. On Twitch, of course, you can watch me live and talk to me if you felt like it. Instagram, you're going to see all my pictures of everything in the past that I've built, because every time I finish a project like this, I take a bunch of pictures of it and I put it on my Instagram. I'm trying to be a little more active by doing the same thing on my X channel, if that's what you're into. But anyway, thank you for watching. Thanks for joining me on this, and we'll see you all in the next one. Phew.